Hey YouTube, it's Ariel here. I'm doing a video for a friend of mine who asked about my Wicca and my altar tools and how I set it up and how I conduct my rituals. So this is a video about that. In my previous takes I found that it's actually about 45 minutes to an hour worth of material, so this video is actually going to be broken up into multiple parts. I'm not sure how many yet, but I will make sure I put that in my sidebar, how many videos there are and what they're all titled. So let's get started. First I'm going to show you my altar tools, where I got them, how I made them, where you can get them. Then we'll talk about altar layout, and then we're going to talk about basic ritual structure. So let's get started with my tools. Okay, this is a basic Wiccan altar. This is actually a simplified version. It can actually be a lot more elaborate than this, or it can be much simpler than this. But to start out with, all you basically need is a goddess representation, a god representation, a symbol for each of the four elements, and something to direct your energies with. Either a wand, an athame, even a stone point or crystal point. You can even use your power hand. That would be your dominant hand, so my right hand is dominant. So you can either point your hand or point your finger, and that can be used to direct your energies. If you need a discrete altar that other people wouldn't find, you can find small items to represent those items and put them in a baggie. What I have is these witching stones here. They're made of clay, and each one has a symbol that represents a certain altar tool, or in this case, this one represents air. This is actually an alchemy symbol for one of the elements. I have all four of them here. And I've also got my pentacle here. I got my representation for the goddess. Got my representation for the god. Got a chalice here, an athame. I've got a censer. And these are what I use for, like if I'm on the go, if I'm traveling, or if I just need a quick way to set up a quick little ritual, I'll use these. If you need to, if you don't want to do witching stones with clay, you can just get like a seashell or something to represent the goddess. You can get like a horn or an antler or something to represent the god. Just a rock for earth, a feather, or one of those little tinkling bells that you put on a cat's collar for air. For water you can just have a seashell. And then there's also lava rocks for fire. You can also use a lighter, or if you have a little figurine of a dragon, that would work too. And just put that all together in a bag and there's your little travel altar. It works great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my altar tools here. I have a list over here that I'm going to refer to. Let's start with the besom. The besom is a broom. I don't have one, so I have to use my witching stone for my besom. I tried making one and it was an absolute failure. It just didn't turn out very good, and they're extremely expensive if you look at them online. So I just have this. The purpose of the besom is to sweep out any negative energy. And you're actually, when you use a besom, you're going to go widdershins. Widdershins is counterclockwise, and Deosil would be clockwise. Clockwise would be pulling in energy. You would start from the outside and work towards the center. Widdershins, you would start in the center and work towards the outside. And widdershins is also meant to dispel energy or to get rid of positive energy. So say I was doing a ritual and I was cleansing my ritual space, you could either sweep it in a counterclockwise direction, or you can just do a spiral. Okay, we'll start. Okay, next thing is an altar cloth. This is my altar cloth. It's one of my 4 altar cloths. I have a couple of bigger ones that I can use, or I usually just put this one on top of my bigger altar cloth, because if you look here, it has a pentacle in the middle. I don't use the pentacle on my altar cloth, obviously, because my table isn't big enough, but if I have a larger table, then I will actually place everything around the pentacle on my altar cloth. I got this one at a metaphysical shop for $3 because it was really small. So if you want to get a larger one, you can find them online. They are quite a bit more expensive. I think the cheapest one I found was like $12. Keep in mind you got to factor in shipping and handling as well. Next is the pentacle. This is my pentacle. It is made of wood. I just found a scrap piece of wood out in the shop. I found a picture, just traced it on here, and then I carved it out and then painted it. Typically, if you look online, these are made of either metal, porcelain, ceramic. They're usually in a plate or a disc like this. You can find those on the internet for as cheap as like $6 or $7, and then factor in shipping and handling. Or you can just make your own out of wood, clay. You can even make it out of clay like this. Or if you work at a metal shop or something, you could just get a metal disc and then carve it on there, whatever. Next on our list, and the pentacle represents Earth and the Watchtower of the North. Oh, and the goddess. So next is the wand. This is my wand. It's just a twig that I found from outside, and I think it belongs to one of our Russian olive trees. I'm not sure. I just found it on the ground. And I typically don't like to use a wand. I think it's a little too fairy-ish, too Disney princess, girly. So I think it's just ridiculous. So it's actually my pretend athame. And these are typically made of wood. Some of them are made out of crystal. You can literally get crystal spikes that are like that big. You can find those on the internet for really cheap, like $3. The wood ones can get quite a bit more expensive. Some of the wood ones are really decorated with feathers and string and bells, and some of them have little crystals on the tips. The wand represents air and the Watchtower of the East. Okay, and then there's the censer and incense burner. This is mine. I have the typical one with the little square with the hole in it. A lot of people see the incense burners as the long boat-looking things with the hole on one end. There's also charcoal discs that you can get. I highly recommend getting a bowl full of sand to set the charcoal disc on. The charcoal discs are about this size, but they do get really, really hot. And those are used with loose powder or with herbs as your incense. They also have incense burners where it's just a dish that has a little brass plate in the center, and then you set an incense cone on the center and you just light the incense cone. So the incense burner obviously represents air, the watchtowers of the east, as well as the god. Then you've got the cauldron. And incense burners, you can find them online for as little as like $6. You can find the boat ones for like $3. But you can find incense burners at candle shops anywhere in town. So here is my cauldron. It's a cast iron cauldron that I found at a camping store, Cabela's. I went there rather than getting one on the internet. You can get one on the internet for a fairly cheap price, about $6 to anywhere between $50 depending on the size of the cast iron pot. But I chose to get one. The ones on the internet always have symbols on them, like a pentacle or the triple goddess or the Tokerda. I chose one without a symbol on it because the cauldron has so many uses that I didn't want to have any kind of label put on it. So I went to Cabela's and just found a camping pot. It's the smallest one they had there. It was $13. If you got one of the cheap ones online for $6, after shipping you'd probably pay about the same. So that represents water and the Watchtower of the West and the goddess. The cauldron also represents the womb, or the life spring of life, I guess. Okay, next one is an athame. I don't have an athame yet. I haven't found one that I like, and also that's within my price range. But I do have a picture of